Mamiya is best known for its medium format cameras. For example, this Mamiya 6, which we're going to look at in the next video. But today, that's not the subject. We're going to look at Mamiya's less known 35mm cameras. On this occasion, this very handsome Mamiya 35 Ruby. This camera came out in 1959. May I remind you, that's the same year as Nikon F. So it was the year of the revolution, 35mm revolution. This camera came with two lenses, Mamiya Seiko f2.8 and the same year, Mamiya Seiko f1.9. This is the first one. This is a rangefinder camera with a fixed lens, a fully integrated light meter powered by this selenium cell over here, which amazingly from 1959 to the present, it still works. This was picked up amongst garbage in an antique store with absolutely nothing working. So after the demonstration, for those of you who are patient enough, I'll show you exactly what had to be done to it to restore it to this shape, which is perfect now. The design of this body has the sort of features that became the prototype of nearly all Japanese cameras. The location of various elements, how they work, top and bottom, and the front. A lot of these features became the default. Film advance lever is in the conventional location, 175 degrees swing, very nice and smooth and ratcheted. Film counter is on top. Opening the body does not set it to 0, you have to do it by hand. After loading the film, you put it on number 1. It counts every 5 numbers. This is the light meter, which I'll describe to you later. Cold shoe or accessory shoe, film plane indicator, serial number, and film rewind knob in the style that became absolutely default in all Japanese cameras. That's a shutter button with cable release thread inside. The bottom is very conventional. Tripod socket, film rewind button, and the rewind button itself has a dot there. As the film rewinds or advances, it rotates. It's useful to know what's going on inside, whether you're loading the film or you are unloading the film. Knowing that this is rotating is very comforting. On the back we have the rangefinder and viewfinder combined. This is a screw that is removable, and with a screwdriver you can calibrate the light meter. Even today you can calibrate against a Sekonic and it should work perfectly. On the front we have the lens. The shutter is a leaf shutter inside the lens. The front ring is a distance scale, 0.5 meter to 1 and all the way to infinity. The next ring is the shutter, which goes from B for bulb to 1 full second all the way to 1/500th of a second. The next one is the aperture from 2.8 on this particular one to 22. This model was also sold in the United States by Sears as Tower 10A. The other model, the 1.9 f1.9, was sold as Sears Tower 18A. If you Google search for Sears Tower, of course, this is what you get. So it's better to search for Mamiya 35 Ruby. Then you get this. Let's look at the fully coupled meter. First, on the front, you set the ISO. At the moment I've set it for 200, but have a look. Fully integrated means this. There's a needle over there at the top, there's a needle at the bottom. The live one, which reacts to the light, is the bottom one, just like here. The other one is your target, which is linked via those red lines. So it's as if you follow the red line and you have to match the top one with the bottom one along that line. So if I rotate the ISO dial, you find that the top one moves. It's integrated with the ISO dial, but at the same time it's integrated with the shutter speed. That also moves it. Also, aperture moves it. All three elements of the exposure triangle move this particular needle. Let's say your combination of 125 and 8 and ISO 400 is the right setting over there. Test roll. pull this up and open the back. Nice hinge back. Pull this up, put this in that chamber, push this down. You can rotate this by hand. It shows you the direction of arrow. You can rotate it until you get to the slot. Put this in the slot as far as it goes. Rotate until you see the other side of it emerging. That's good. Keep rotating until you get a very nice comfortable grip. And this engages with the sprockets. Do a couple of blank shots. As you wind, this should rotate. Also, this should rotate too. Have a look. We're now ready. Rotate this in the direction shown until this is on number 1. 1, exactly. Now we're ready to shoot. To rewind, press this, fold this out, rotate until you feel the end of the film released. Okay, there was a sound as well. Good. At this point, there's a bit of the lead out, which is the way I prefer it. You can rewind a little bit more until it all goes in. For me, it's good this way because I developed this myself. I can push this into the developing tank. Done. The rangefinder patch is nice and clear. It has some kind of parallax correction as well. And for the cameras of that era, it's quite nice and big. You can see from the size of this, quite generous. 0.66 magnification. The design language is later on picked up by cameras such as this one. And there's a lot of these cameras with the same kind of aesthetic. This is the Yashica Electro 35. Much more popular and sold in millions. But you can see the aesthetics follow the same language. But this is much earlier than this. I find this very handsome, very elegant, a classic of its time. This is a flash PC sync cable which has multiple modes. You select over here X and M. Of course today you put it on X only for electronic flash. So let me tell you the story of this. This was picked up from an antique store. It was thrown in there like rubbish, and when I picked it up right there, I could tell that absolutely nothing worked. The advanced lever wouldn't move, shutter would not release. The self timer, which is over here, was in the cocked position, which means that it wasn't moving back. That was already a problem. The light meter was moving, but obviously it was crazy. There was something here moving around, floating, and inside the body several things were dangling as if something had come off inside. So it was picked up for almost nothing, a few bucks, and I set about repairing it. It took 2 days. The patient ones, please stay back and I'll show you. Mamiya 35 Ruby. shutter and fix it. Alright, usually shutter blades are glued together with some solidified lubricant. So I'll unscrew this. Thankfully, it comes out quite easily. Okay. So actually, when you look at it, it's beautifully done. It's a beautiful design. Very neat. See this rod over here? That is the focus rod. As you twist this, it goes in and out. That means this rod goes in and out. This rod is connected to this rangefinder from inside the body. So beautifully done. So clean and neat. Very impressed. Now we have to take this inner one out, because there's another lens over there. We can't get to the shutter unless we take this off. Okay. Okay, that's good. The rest of this can be unscrewed by hand. Oh, again, beautifully simple. That's the shutter. It's not the aperture. Aperture is behind it. I know from looking from the other side. So what do we do to loosen that and make it work? First, I'll put it on the maximum tension, which would be on 1/500th of a second. This one, maximum tension. This is lighter fluid. Just for convenience, I put it in this. And a few drops of this on that. If it loosens it up, it should then work, at least while it's wet. Let's see. This might indicate a bigger problem. Just take this off and see what happens. Okay, this is the thing that is not moving. That is attached to the lens over there. So the lens needs to release that. In order to release that, it needs to take a picture. That means that the shutter needs to work. So let's do this a bit more. Inject a little bit through this self-timer as well, in case the self-timer is stuck halfway. Okay, I've done it manually, so let's see if that is going to work now. Hopefully. Okay. Now that we fixed it, this needs to go back to here. You can hold it by hand temporarily, and that should be able to cock the shutter. Yeah, there you go. And yeah, done. So that should continue to work now. I have to do this several hundred times and inject some more of this lighter fluid here. And ease the shutter. Yep. Let me just put it on different speeds to make sure. 1/4 or half. Let's see. Okay, good. Now the B is what we want. That's B. We want this on the open aperture. Okay, that's open now. With this we can do the infinity check. Okay, let's go and do it. I'll put the bottom on. Look at the beautiful design. So simple, so elegant. I've opened a lot of these camera bags and none of them is as elegant as this. Nothing fell off, nothing. That's the rewind button. It is properly screwed together, it doesn't fall off. It's a very simple base plate. Comes out, goes on. Easy. The base plate itself is holding this together. Much neater than some Zeiss Econ cameras that I've opened up. Let's consider this dilemma. This is a rangefinder camera, right? So when we look through the viewfinder here, we're looking through this window here. We're not looking through the lens. We see a picture that is trying to emulate what the lens sees. So let's think about the focus. In the rangefinder camera, you have a patch which is supposed to overlap with the picture that you see, and when they're perfectly matched, is supposed to be in focus. Let's imagine just infinity. Alright? In infinity, when the patches meet up, looking at the infinity, it's supposed to theoretically represent what the lens sees at infinity. Let's say you can't trust your focus because the camera is defective and maybe the horizontal or vertical alignment of the patch are not right and you want to correct it. Okay, all these rangefinder cameras have horizontal and vertical alignment screws or some kind of device to calibrate it. Let's say you calibrate it, but all you've done is you've calibrated the patch against the view of what? The view of this window, not this lens. So if the lens is in error and it's not correctly focused on infinity, no matter what you do with the patch, it's useless because you don't know which one is at fault. So we have to fix one first and then align the other one with it. And the one that we have to fix properly is the one that really matters. That is, if you put this on infinity, is the film plane focused on infinity or not? That's all that matters. When you're sure about that, then you can go on to fix the horizontal and vertical alignment of the rangefinder. So how do we know that? Just because that says infinity? Nope, that's not good enough. With a camera like this, it's entirely possible that over the years somebody has tried to fix it, they've opened it up and they haven't put it back together the correct way. What we can do is to remove this ring and see if there is a positive alignment between this ring, which is just a ring, and the actual lens. I can tell you that this ring can come out with these tiny grub screws here, there, and there. There's 3 of them. When it comes out, there's no positive alignment between this and that. There's no notch that says this must always go in that location. We have no idea. So it's possible when this says infinity, that ring inside has already rotated maybe 20 degrees or so, and it's not on infinity. Therefore, the film plane is not looking at infinity in sharp focus. So what we need to do is this. We need to have the equivalent of some kind of ground glass exactly on this film plane here. This is magic tape. Okay? Take a little bit of this. It is our own version of ground glass. And you stick it over here. Alright? It's so thin that the front and back of this tape doesn't matter. It's right on the film plane. Put another one here to completely cover it. Put a tiny bit of overlap. Now, this is entirely on the film plane. The easiest way is to do this at night by focusing on some light at infinity, which we'll do now. First, I have to take this ring off because obviously I can't trust these numbers, and I should be able to rotate this ring directly to the maximum and minimum and so on. So I'll take this ring off. 3 grub screws, there's no need to take them entirely off. It's sufficient to undo them a little bit, because they work with pressure against the inner ring. 3 or 4 turns is enough. Should come straight out. Okay. Now, you see the point. This has no distinguishing marks. There's nothing. And when you look here, you can see that whoever has opened this before has put it back at multiple different locations at different attempts. So how do you know? These are just pressure points. As these grub screws are turned, they create tension against that ring and they hold together. So how do I know? What's the alignment? Is it at this point infinity, or is this infinity? No idea. No idea at all. So I have to test this against the actual light and the focus on our made up ground glass using magic tape, and that will be verified. Exactly where the infinity is, I'll then mark it against this index, and then when I put this back, I'll put it back exactly on the infinity. That will be perfectly aligned. I'll get back to you after I've done that. Here's the setup, looking at infinity at night, city lights, ready to go. As I focus on infinity, as I look at one of those lights in the distance, I'll check the focus with this powerful magnifying glass. If at infinity it's exactly right, I'll be safe. I'll say the lens is focusing correctly. If not, rotate it until it's exactly right and leave it at that position. I'll get back to you after I've done it. I've done exactly as planned. Now this ring, this focus ring, is what I regard as exactly right for the infinity focus. Okay, so we can have some alignment now. See the index there? It seems to be exactly on number 7. So number 7 is our indication of exact position for infinity. If I put this ring back on and have the infinity exactly at number 7, that'll be perfectly correct. Like this. Now let me check against the position of the grub screws and the marks on the ring itself. If I now take this off to see where the marks were, whether my theory was right or wrong. Exactly at this point. I was right. So those marks here have nothing to do with the position of the grub screw now. Infinity is at this position, and grub screw is going to be tightened at a different position. Got it? Alright, that's a perfect focus. Now it doesn't matter if later on I take this off and ease the shutter a bit more or less or whatever, because I know that I can now go back, rotate it all the way to the right, and then go backward until 7 is exactly on the index, and that is infinity. Yep, that's the trick. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to ease the shutter a few hundred times more. Then I'm going to clean the lens one more time, front and back, and put it back together until it's exactly on number 7. That will be infinity. There are many more problems to go. For example, the alignment of the rangefinder. By the way, before I put the lens completely back on, I'll blow some air into it to make sure that these blades are completely dry. Do this several hundred times. Otherwise, it can fog up inside with evaporating liquid. Lens cleaning fluid, cotton tips, a bit of a spray on this, away from camera. Okay, that's maximum aperture, and on B. Okay. Now this is the wet side. It's a dry side. That's a towel. rotate as you go. Okay. Further drawing. Good enough. Hopefully it's the last time we have to put the lens back together. For these simple jobs, I don't even tighten this, just leave it open. And at the time of turning, I'll just hold it together. Okay. That's tight. So put it back together. Now we know exactly where to go. All the way to the end, then backward until 7 is on the index. Okay. I'll do one more test on the tripod looking at infinity before I put the ring on. One final time, now with a perfectly clean lens, perfectly clean aperture. I got confirmation. I tested one more time, and indeed 7 is exactly our index mark. Take this off. So we can put the lens back together exactly on infinity here. Go straight in, confirm that it's still on 7. Hold them together carefully, no movement. Then tighten at least one of the grub screws and all the rest. Okay, now we can trust the lens and we can trust that this is infinity, which means that if the patch inside the rangefinder meets up at infinity, it is truly infinity. So how do we do that? We have to now take the top off. Screw here, and if this is the neat camera design that I think it is, that'll be it. Plus this and this as usual. Okay, good enough. The rest of it can be done with this. Beautiful. So how are we going to do this? Oh, that's interesting. This entire thing comes off as one assembly. Oh, okay. That's easy. No mess, no fuss. How about this? Have to take any screws off or anything? Appears to be no screws here. Oops. That's easy. It just comes out. No problem. And no screws here either. Let's see. It looks like this just comes off. Easy. How is this? Isn't this a beauty? It just goes in, and this tightens it. No screws. Easy. This side. On the back. Pull this up. Put this in the middle of the slot over there. Rotate this the way I expected, and this thing just comes out. Okay. Don't lose that washer. Okay, put it upside down here. All good. 2 screws. Okay, one here. One here. And that should be it, I think. It should now come off. Something just fell down. What was it? Okay, this underneath there. Alright. Okay. That's a cable connection for light meter. And this is our shutter release. Just goes into that hole, so simple. Must be another piece. Yes, there's another piece. It goes inside it. This piece is for cable release. This goes inside here. When the cable release goes inside, let me show you. And the cable release goes inside like this. When you press it, that inside one presses in. Isn't that a neat design? So this is what you press with your finger. So the whole thing goes in. When you screw this in, now this is fixed. It pushes the other one in. Beautiful design. Definitely somebody has opened this before, because there are two screws missing here and here. My suspicion is correct. We'll take this top off. Okay, that comes off. Complete with a screw, we put it on the side here. That's a normal view. Through this half mirrored glass over here, you see through that viewfinder there. But light also goes through this hole over here, bounces off that mirror, goes through here, bounces off half mirror, and it's combined with your view, and you see through here. So what's that? The middle part of it is the rangefinder focus patch, the middle of it. The outside of it is a frame line, and that is the thing that is out of alignment. So we have to see how that works. Don't want to lose this thing. Okay, it looks like a very simple and elegant design. There's just two spring-loaded flaps here that hold this bit of glass. This bit of glass is adjustable like this. So all we have to do is to adjust it until it's exactly right and leave it in that position. How difficult is that? Okay. The other thing is the vertical horizontal alignment of the rangefinder. So let's see. The lens, as it focuses, I think, is going to push this in and out. Let's just test this. Yes, I'll put it on the minimum focus, less than 1 meter. Now with the finger we can press this. So that's, what does that do? It presses this in and out. So that is what is moving the rangefinder patch. So in this position is the minimum focus, in this position is maximum focus. Which means that, oh okay, there's two plates here. This one is attached to the lens, this one. As I can see a little lever over there that pushes this in. But that pushes this other one, which is attached to the rangefinder assembly. Between those two, there are two screws, two tiny screws, and they can be unscrewed in or out. So that is the adjustment. That is the horizontal adjustment. So this can push it further in or less in. Okay, we can adjust that later. So we need a vertical adjustment, and that appears to be this one. This one. First, do a bit of cleaning job. We don't want to touch that half mirror at all. This one is safe. This one is safe. The half mirror must not be touched. So let's just fix a few things. Let's take it out and clean it for a start. Okay, which side is which? The smooth side. Okay, the smooth side is out. Have a look. It's a frame line. Okay, another indication is that this second frame line you see very close here, second frame line, that's for parallax correction. That's for the short distance. Okay. All we want is the frame lines to be clean. That's all that matters. Otherwise, it's just cosmetic. This is opaque. Now we have to slot that in again. So the frame lines are perfectly horizontal. By the way, since I'm in the mood to admire the design of this, look at the wire connections. Have you seen inside of other cameras? They're a mess. But look at this. It's beautifully done. Proper screw. Look at the light meter box. Beautifully assembled here. And this is the adjustment. With the screwdriver, this can go left or right to adjust the sensitivity to exactly match a proper handheld meter. We look through there and see if horizontal and vertical alignments are correct. If not, we'll come back and adjust the vertical alignment with this and horizontal alignment with one of those two screws. Okay, mission accomplished. I tested the distance using an actual meter. I tested against infinity, 5 meters and 1 meter on the dial that we calibrated before. And I adjusted the left screw, which was the closest to that plate. That's the one that was really pushing it. The other one wasn't doing very much. And finally, one setting was the best compromise between all of them, almost perfect in every setting. Okay, that's done with an actual meter, very precise. So now we have the lens calibrated to exact infinity. We have the rangefinder calibrated. I also tested the frame lines and it's perfectly horizontal. All good to go. We put this back on. Okay. There are 2 screws missing here, but it doesn't seem to be necessary. So I'll just leave it. But this is strong enough. Just went in here. Okay, any change goes over here. Stuff anymore. Washer is still there. Start it off. To tighten it, put something in the slot over there and tighten it a little bit, not too much. Done. Let's have a final wrap up, see what we've achieved. We've fixed the shutter system. Good. Even the self-timer works, although it's not recommended in vintage cameras to try that, but look, Okay, that works. Rangefinder works. Horizontal and vertical alignment is perfect now. The lens focus has been calibrated on the film plane. It's perfect now. Light meter works. All the metal has been polished with metal polish. Actually stainless steel polish, which is the best. So one more camera has been saved from the dustbin. It'll probably last many generations from now. I'm super impressed with this generation of Mamiyas. Having almost salvaged Mamiya in Mamiya Press Super 23 and C3 Professional, which are honestly quite primitive. This is an earlier generation, and it has a lot of clever ideas, and the design inside of it is beautiful. Anyway, that's all I have for you. Don't give up. See you with the next video, hopefully on Mamiya 6.